You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
When my guest on The Luxury Item, Chris Norton, joined Equinox Hotels as CEO about a decade ago, he stepped into something totally new. Tasked with adapting Equinox's fitness as a lifestyle approach into Equinox Hotels, the executive forged a new category of luxury rooted in restorative and regenerative hospitality. With Norton at the helm, Equinox Hotels opened the doors of its first location in New York City's landmark Hudson Yards development in 2019. He is responsible for overseeing all facets of Equinox Hotels and executing a future growth strategy. Norton describes Equinox Hotels as redefining luxury hospitality for those who embrace high-performance living, with luxury transcending the white-glove grandeur of the past and focusing instead on meaningful details and seamless experience. Under Chris Norton's leadership, Equinox's ambitious expansion plans include opening 33 hotels over the next decade. At least half are slated for the U.S., with confirmed projects in Texas, California, Hawaii, and Nashville. Internationally, Equinox targets key global destinations, including London and a major futuristic wellness resort at Neom's Magna development in Saudi Arabia. Prior to joining Equinox in 2016, Chris Norton had a long tenure at Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, where his most recent role was President and Chief Operating Officer. Welcome to The Luxury Item, Chris.
Hi, Scott. How are you doing?
Good. Happy New Year. I'm so happy that you can join me today.
I'm very honored.
You know, when Equinox launched its hotel in 2019 in the Hudson Yards here in New York City, you had said that it's more apparent than ever that there are two types of luxury today: old world and old-fashioned luxury, and an experience type of luxury that focuses on programming and integrating every experience a guest could possibly have. A guest didn't want to go either or, they wanted to do both. So what were you seeing in the world of luxury hospitality, and how did you want to rewrite the playbook for Equinox Hotel?
I thought that, let's put it this way. I know that luxury always changes, has changed, and will change. And if you wind it back 20 years, 40, 80, 100, or 200 years, people think about luxury in a different way. And if you go to different countries, people think about luxury in a very different way.
All right.
And I knew that with a newer generation, a younger generation that was becoming more and more affluent, with technology changing drastically, that people also change their lifestyles, and what they consider luxury today is quite different than our parents did, or even we did 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to build something that was really oriented towards people's values and people's lifestyles, and was relevant to them and important to them, and was rare, which are kind of the basic definitions of luxury. And this rarity and the craftsmanship in which we wanted to build the product and the offerings was going to be centered around these new values, and hence creating something that didn't exist. And there was going to be, kind of to create something new and exciting and something relevant for a newer mindset, not necessarily an age group, but a mindset. And so we kind of dusted off, what I called in some of my interviews, said the brass buttons and white gloves is kind of an image of the past, and the crystal chandeliers kind of thing of the past, and the golden dinner plates thing of the past. And then we wanted to build a guest room around not the color of the cushions, but the quality that the stage it sets for the best sleep possible. So, but that's what we built. And something a little bit more relaxed, and something that would speak to this new mindset. And we combined it together with the club side. And so we suddenly created an environment that was seamless, that combined our four pillars that we brought in, which was the movement from the club side, the regen and the nutrition from the hotel side, and then the community from the club side. That kind of created this different, very different universe that people would experience.
And there were many naysayers in the hospitality industry who expressed doubt that a fitness-focused brand could successfully pivot into luxury hotels. That Equinox's expertise, that Equinox's expertise in gyms wouldn't translate to high-end hospitality or would have limited appeal beyond the fitness community. What made you confident that you had a winning formula?
I had always been I'd always enjoyed the gym. For me, the gym was a very important part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as harder I worked, as more I traveled, as more important it became. And I would remember dreading going to places, even on my own vacation, where I knew I wouldn't have a good gym and where I couldn't follow my routine, which was actually, one of the best hours in the day.
Right.
And so, even in my previous life, I started, building bigger and better gyms. They were more of amenities than membership-driven businesses. But intuitively, I knew it always was important, and including resorts in the Maldives where we build really amazing gyms in these, remote resort locations. People loved it. They would come down and they'd get a great workout. And so when I met the Equinox folks, it just rung home, and we just connected so quickly. And what they were talking about and pitching, was like music to my ears. And building a 212 room hotel with a 60,000 square foot club, like a dream come true.
And for my listeners who don't know, Hudson Yards is a high-profile mixed-use development on the far west side of Manhattan, and it's the largest private real estate project in U.S. history since Rockefeller Center. Equinox is a subsidy of the related companies, the same real estate developer behind Hudson Yards and nearby Columbus Circle. Related acquired Equinox Holdings back in 2005. When did the idea of evolving Equinox from simply a fitness brand into a lifestyle brand come about?
So when I joined them in 16, so this is 9 years ago, I think they had been dreaming about this for probably 5-10 years. And they had always liked the idea of hospitality because, very, very cleverly and brilliantly, they felt, and they had succeeded on the club side, unlike any other gym out there, to offer a lifestyle. Like it's like people refer to being a member of a tribe almost.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going to the gym, this is part of your life. And so, to expand it and say, as a lifestyle brand, and not a gym brand, we want to be in hospitality, and we are in hospitality. The clubs, if you think of it, a lot of it is, human interaction in a hospitable environment.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to extend it, and they just didn't know how to do it. So they reached out and we connected. But I think it was always a dream, Scott, that they had. And now here we are open since 2019 with, a good number of hotels under development, and it's going to be amazing.
So you said you joined in 2016. You spent about 28 years at Four Seasons where you were overseeing global operations. So what lured you over to Equinox? I know you just mentioned that they were sort of pitching it to you, but what lured you over?
Well, we first talked about possibly combining the brands. And the idea that the Equinox folks had was that they would, kind of do the brand and the club side, and that, Four Seasons would drop the engine into it and do the operation piece. And so we kicked it around. And then eventually they reached out to me and said, listen, how do you feel about if you come on board and we do this in-house? Which, Four Seasons is an amazing company. And when you're the president and chief operating officer of, arguably the largest and best independent luxury hotel company in the world, it's kind of a tough call to make. But I found the story was so fascinating to be able to have a blank piece of paper and create something brand new and different, and not just another one of the same, that I kind of took the plunge and, with no regrets. So that's how it started in a meeting room in New York.
Equinox has become renowned for its bold, visually striking, and often controversial ad campaigns over the years, many of which have sparked significant public discussion and helped shape its image as an upscale, boundary-pushing lifestyle brand, back from the Terry Richardson campaigns in the early 2010s to the, Commit to Something campaign in 2016 and last year's Want It All campaign. The common themes throughout have been about living a high-performance lifestyle, speaking to people who like to find their edges and push their boundaries. Most luxury hotel customer service strategies center around delivering a seamless, guest-first experience. Given this high-performance lifestyle segment, how is your guest experience philosophy different?
I think in some ways it is not, because the things that don't change in human behavior and luxury, I think, is like qualitative human interaction. Just basic good service. It sounds kind of oversimplified, but I think instead of concentrating on refined service, we highlighted fast, friendly, and anticipatory as a service ethos. Instead of saying, ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, we relaxed the environment around the service, but we kept the speed and the precision. So we see ourselves more as a precision drill team in the hotel that executes flawlessly and fast and consistently. So I think that's kind of the attitudinal approach to it. And it's more like designing a sports car than a limousine, I think. And that's how it differs. But I think the quality, in 2023, we were selected as top 50 hotels in the world. And we just had opened a few years ago. And I think the only other brand in the US was Aman. So I think we deliver at a very high level at that, in that part. But I think we're a bit bolder. We're probably less, we probably take some risks on, and a bit edgier in the way we deliver our messaging and advertising, and maybe a bit more provocative.
And in the new campaign, uses surreal AI-generated slop images alongside real photos of fit people to spark conversation about what is real in a world saturated with artificial content, while positioning Equinox as the place where real, hard-earned transformation still happens. So the broader question I want to ask you has to do with AI. So do you think AI slop is eroding some of the core signals of luxury, like craft, scarcity, and human effort?
Yeah, I don't think so, Scott. And I tell you why. And I see, we all have the same discussions on the good and the bad of AI. If you take a look at a video clip we launched about a month ago to announce the opening of our Amala resort. This is the west coast of Saudi Arabia, which should happen in the next few months. There's an incredible one, I think it's a 1:10 clip about this hotel launch. You actually don't see the hotel in the video, and so it's typical for us. It's maybe a bit more fashion based and it's very edgy, and it's just this beautiful, gorgeous shots on this beach and ocean and pool and water and horses galloping along the beach, and it's just stunning. And we used a very high quality AI studio to produce the whole thing with us. And we had choices, should it look like AI? Should it look real? Should it look hybrid? And we made it look real, but people know, and people are fascinated by it. And it has become a new craft, I think, done at that level. And it's amazing. And we all go to the movies, and a lot of it, all the special effects, everything is AI. So I think it's just becoming part of our world. Not to embrace it, I think would be not good judgment. So we fully embrace it, and it's so much part of our world, and it'll become more part of our world. So why not live with it?
Related Companies' design approach has always been centered on creating innovative, sustainable, and inspired urban living. The Equinox Hotel is no different. The building itself was designed by renowned architecture firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, Rockwell Group, who are experts in luxury hospitality design, handled the hotel interiors and guest rooms, and interior design for the spa and fitness club by Joyce Wang's studio. In designing the hotel, how do you overcome the challenge of offering high-quality luxury that matches the Equinox ethos without resorting to cliches or superficial design tactics of some of the sleek luxury hotels?
I think it was very simple. I think all of us, we had a lot of discussion among many people on the related side, the Equinox Club side, and myself, and not always easy discussions, and we kind of tortured ourselves to make sure we got the details right. But we all have very much shared the same value systems, and on substance and style. And so the discussions were actually quite easy, but the difficult part was that we were all incredibly detailed. And so we spent a lot of time making sure that things work and that things make sense, and that the substance of the design was felt in the way you lived in the space. And it actually was an incredible, one of the most fun things to do in my book is, creating these incredible product experiences.
Yeah.
And we're all on the same page. The Harvey Spivak, who's our chairman for the group, is obsessed with detail. And so we would spend hours really going through a lot of stuff. And so it's probably the attention of senior executives you got on this one project is probably disproportionate. But I think that's why it turned out so well. And so we use very high grade fabrics, materials, stone, this beautiful woods, and things that are long lasting, I think. And they spoke to the kind of the brand design ethos and language, which kind of felt like a sister brother relationship between the club and the hotel. So it all kind of fit together. David did an amazing job in the guest rooms. Joyce Wang did a spectacular job on the club and the spa. And so I think it all fit really well together. And we get a lot of good comments from people that stay with us and very high repeat guests. So
You've said in several interviews that health is the new wealth. It's more than just a catchphrase now. It really reflects a real shift in cultural values, economic behavior, and even social status, particularly among affluent individuals and within the luxury marketplace. Increasingly, people are equating health, wellness, and longevity with true success and status, sometimes placing them above material displays of wealth. Why do you think enjoying a longer, higher quality life is now viewed as foundational elements of a successful and affluent lifestyle?
I think we have come to realize, maybe through the younger generations. I know my kids definitely feel that way, that they value, and this is something, I'm telling you something we guess all know, but we all value, quote, the experience more than we value the purchase of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that has been said a million times. But I read this recently. I read something like you have 1,000 problems until you get sick, then you have one problem. And and to realize that actually the maintenance of your health is not necessarily fixing something that's broken, but there's a lot of things you can do that in addition are very enjoyable. Around the movement and nutrition and the right regen and sleeping right and having the right community around you and all that stuff, I think becomes very fulfilling to people. And I think it's just a realization that has grown and been democratized, and people have embraced it. As you know, Scott, I grew up in Switzerland, and some of those values I grew up with back in the 60s and 70s, where people embraced basic things that were just healthy lifestyles because they translate into a better, longer life. And that has become almost mainstream today, I think.
And we're seeing hotels are really capitalizing in the wellness boom and more diverse and specialized offerings than ever before. But longevity seems to be on everyone's lips these days. The longevity industry is hot, with investments skyrocketing over the past couple of years, and wealthy individuals are willing to spend big on prolonging youthfulness. We've seen hotels offering guests IV drips for hangovers to personalized nutrition programs, full-body MRIs, and stem cell therapies. How is Equinox embracing the longevity trend?
We have been embracing it certainly since I've been there. And before this is you could argue that really good exercise and regularity is part of this, but it's changing, and there's a lot of effort being made on all fronts, and I think including club, retail, hotel, food, the restaurants, and a constant questioning ourselves on what can we do better. So last year we started launching the sleep labs, and so we took a whole bunch of rooms in the hotel, and we started tinkering and using them as labs to see how we can create the next generation guest room for us. And as we open our next hotels, we're not just going to open and copy the rooms we have here. But from the approach to the private bar, to how the mattress works, to how the bathroom works, to what the shower can do differently and better, and a list long of things that brings in technology and is being tested. And we launch them and we sleep in them and we have guests in them, and we kind of so I think it's a constant questioning yourself on how you can do things better, and investing time and money to keep evolving and keeping ahead of it. And if you think as a single hotel brand, with our flagship hotel being the first in New York, we kind of punch way above our weight class, I think, as far as the recognition of the brand globally and where we stand on owning sleep. We have become the hotel that it goes beyond the pillow menu for us. It's that was the old-fashioned thing. You could pick what pillow you want. But we really have become experts, I think, in creating perfect environments for guests when they travel to get the best possible sleep they can. And that's such an important commodity for everybody. So I think it's this continuous quest to reinvent yourself.
And community is also a core pillar of your strategy. This whole idea of a club within a hotel model is growing in popularity, and many ultra-luxury hospitality brands and boutique operators have been investing in this area. How does Equinox Hotel foster a sense of human connection or communal engagement among your guests, to give people reasons to get together in order to win over and keep their loyalty within the brand?
Yeah, first, we created the experience to be seamless. Second, we recognized that in the old world order, the only way a hotel would attract the locals would be through F&B, because usually, most of the time, if you're local, you don't stay at the hotel. Most hotels don't do a very exciting job on doing food and beverage. The restaurants and bars, are functional, but usually not very exciting. And when you travel, you go to the concierge and you ask, first question is, where's a good local restaurant I can go to? The club business is very different by definition. You want your club to be, next to your house or next to your office. It's the club, Hudson Yards, it has, I think, maybe 4,000 members now. It's a busy club, which means you have probably 1,500 locals come through the door. And a lot of them, after they work out, they change, they go to the restaurant, the bar, or the hotel guests end up at the pool, and you get pulled into a local scene like no other hotel can provide, really, I think. And people love it. So I think by mixing the two together, this local energy and this engaged, high performance kind of people that mix in with a hotel traveler who, a lot of them, a good 35-40% of our guests go and actually work out in the main club. It's just a lot. So, I think it's a really interesting way of kind of creating that magic.
And the Soho House famously had a robust community strategy by making community really the core of its brand, not just the benefit. Aside from financial mismanagement and rapid expansion, some of the many business challenges Soho House faced included declining exclusivity, and people felt the environment became uncreative and generic. As you scale rapidly, how do you prevent Equinox Hotel from weakening its brand identity and member experience decline?
So I will do another interview with you in a few years when we can, when we can call we can call the expansion rapid. We have been very thoughtful and very strategic on where and how we grow. We had a strategy very early on that we wanted to be a global brand quickly. So we started expanding, started looking at outside projects. The next hotel we're opening is a resort on an integrated marina. Mm-hmm. We have some announcement coming up shortly for some urban destinations. The US still remains an incredibly important market for us, of course, and you will see some announcement there. We just announced an integrated marina in the Caribbean, in Anguilla, where we have some 60 branded residences and 60 hotel rooms on this beautiful, incredible marina which we're building. So we were very careful to how we would do that. So we're not there yet to call this a rapid, out of control expansion, I think, Scott. That's the least of my worries. I think we're very high on quality and execution. So it's a good pace for us.
I know you had a launch plan of up to 33 new hotels over the next 10 years. And you mentioned a few of them that are in the pipeline. I know we have Texas and California, Hawaii, Los Angeles, Miami, Nashville, and others, and international products. I'd love to hear about the Saudi Arabia's mega development NEOM, what you're doing over there, and potentially Europe. So what do you think will fuel the strong global demand for a luxury hotel that's centered on high-performance living?
So, first, if you think, so let's say we have, this next wave of announcement coming up. COVID didn't help. It's kind of slowed everybody down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, I think the 30 is certainly in grasp, and maybe it'll take us a little bit longer than we thought. But, I'd rather do it right and a little bit slower than too fast. What we have found, the first hotel has been such a success. If you, not only from the product, the innovation side of it, but if you look at our numbers, if you would take a peek at it, the hotel performs incredibly well. It's very profitable, and so people when they first hear of it, they kind of get inquisitive. When they walk through it, they get it, and so the developer that we are working with that came to see the property and see what we can do. I think it's going to be just a natural for other countries that embrace us to come in. This whole longevity, fitness, high performance living, it's a global trend. It's not only here in Chelsea that we have it, but I was in Saudi recently. They have 70% of the 30 plus million Saudis are 30 years old or around. It's a very young population. Fitness has become a huge trend. The French who always seen, and I'm French, so I shouldn't be careful what I say about the French, but the baguette eating with the berets and the cigarette. You go to France. I'm in a little town in Provence, but there must be 6 or 7 gyms around my house for various different levels and price ranges, and everybody kind of works out and goes in. But they also go out because it's community. In Saudi, it's community because you don't drink, so you can hang out in gyms and you can have a good time. So I think it's something that is just kind of natural, and we're certainly way ahead of the curve. But I think we're certainly the future.
I'm wondering how high-performance living translates into merchandise. So hotels are upping their merch game, and hotel merch is no longer an afterthought, but another revenue stream. And we're seeing luxury hotels are collaborating with fashion brands on capsule collections that range from, trench coats and crew neck sweaters, velvet slippers, T-shirts, and pajamas. Some hotel groups are launching their own brands and selling them in upscale retailers. Would Equinox Hotels ever consider flexing its branding muscle in the fashion space?
So, the club side has retail areas in most of the clubs. I think maybe all of the clubs, but most of the clubs for sure. And some of the offerings they have show great variety and are oriented towards their members are quite successful. Some of them are collaborations with other brands. Some of them are Equinox branded. Interesting enough, the Equinox branded stuff, as far as I know, always sells very quickly. People love wearing like an Equinox jacket or carry an Equinox bag, and it's just a cool brand. So yeah, I think so. It's really interesting, and sometimes I've scratched my head because these brands, in some ways have become less maybe important or ostentatious. In other ways, people embrace brands like they never have before, including branded residences and condos and homes, and become like a seal of approval in many ways, and people know what they get.
So you were talking about branded residences. Do you think that would ever be in the future?
Every hotel that we're building, every resort we're building has a branded residence component to it. Yeah, for sure. And in our case, I think half of them are actually luxury condos for rent. And so if you think a younger clientele that might not necessarily want to, put down a few $1 million to buy a condo, they're certainly willing to pay a good rent if they could, live in a tower that would offer an entire lifestyle. So imagine you're some young kid in Atlanta and you work for a company and you can rent a great apartment, and downstairs you have some cool restaurants, bars, 2 pools, a big gym. It'd be pretty amazing.
So Chris, my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests. So if you were stranded on a deserted island and you can only have one single luxury item with you, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of air or water transportation to get you off that island, or anything that requires mobile service so you can call somebody to get you off that island. It's just you on this lonely island, but you have one single luxury item with you. What would that be?
Yeah, a really good medical cabinet. I would want like a few painkillers. I would want antibiotics. I would want like good dental stuff. Yeah, that's what I would want. A really high luxury, good pharma kit.
Chris Norton, CEO of Equinox Hotels. Thank you so much for joining me on The Luxury Item.
Thank you, Scott.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.